Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are immersing ourselves in a really fascinating collection of sources. They center on what adherents call a Manifesto of Awakening.
Mm.
And this isn't, your standard theological chat.
Hmm.
This material is pretty radical, deeply spiritual, and it fundamentally challenges how we often think about the origins, maybe the structure
Hmm.
of traditional Christian religion.
Right.
Our mission today is really to guide you through this specific viewpoint. We're going to unpack a Gnostic Christian perspective
Hmm.
that completely redefines Christ's role,
Yeah.
arguing, quite fiercely actually, against building religious institutions. It repositions him not as a founder of a faith,
No.
but as a powerful and maybe world-changing revealer,
Yeah.
someone bringing in an urgent personal call to spiritual awakening.
And what's really striking, I think, is how these sources pull things together. It's a synthesis.
Okay.
They're definitely drawing on ancient Gnostic texts, fragments maybe echoing the Gospel of Thomas or Mary, but they weave that with, very modern eschatological claims,
Like what specifically?
like specific warnings tied to Planet X, or Nibiru, as it's sometimes called.
Wow.
So it really asks us to look beyond the usual religious boxes, and see this almost as a kind of cosmic blueprint for survival. It blends spiritual philosophy with almost apocalyptic cosmology.
That blend is definitely where the intrigue lies, isn't it? Because it forces us to treat these claims as interconnected, not separate things.
Oh, exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this manifesto then, starting right at the core critique. If Christ wasn't here to start a religion, what does the manifesto claim he came to, oppose, and what was his actual goal?
Well, the opening statement is designed to just dismantle tradition. It's completely unequivocal.
How so?
It states flat out, Christ did not come to build a religion. It's a direct shot at institutional power. It says he didn't establish temples of control, nor did he come to crown priests or codify rituals. It's like he rejected the whole mechanism of having an intermediary between the divine and, the individual.
So if the goal wasn't setting up that kind of structure, that bureaucracy, what was the mechanism of his intervention? The source seems to imply the world he arrived in was already in deep trouble.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the Gnostic flavor really comes through strongly in the source material.
Right.
It frames the intervention as a response to a crisis, a profound cosmic damage. The text describes Earth as already wounded, scorched, veiled in chaos.
And not just because of humans.
No, not initially. The source points to something bigger, a pre-existing conflict. It calls it a war of the angels, but it defines these angels as warring intelligences, maybe alien powers, that had already ravaged creation.
Wow, that framing changes everything, doesn't it?
It does.
If the chaos stems from these cosmic forces fighting, then Christ's arrival wasn't about laying down new rules for humans.
Exactly.
It was more like emergency damage control on a cosmic scale.
Precisely. The divine being intervened, or so the manifesto claims, for one really urgent reason, to halt extinction.
Halt extinction. Okay.
Yeah. The ultimate goal wasn't starting a church. It was breaking this cycle of destruction, both cosmic and human. His mission, it says, was to warn us and break the illusion.
And how would he do that?
By trying to awaken prophets and ignite remembrance in people who could still kind of hear the true signal beneath the noise.
So it paints this picture of Christ walking among us, not as just a gentle teacher, but as a really powerful revealer.
Yes, revealer is the key word.
Exposing, it says, the savage trajectory of human violence, domination, and spiritual blindness. The message then becomes a direct call to awaken, pushing people back towards peace, harmony, and truth within themselves.
And that's the absolute core difference in this perspective, you see. It shifts the whole goal away from external loyalty, like joining a group,
Right.
towards internal resonance, finding that echo within yourself. He sought hearts that burn with compassion, minds seeking justice.
So if institutions later formed around his name,
The manifesto basically implies they often became part of the very illusion, the very control system he came to break. His focus was the heart, never the hierarchy.
okay, this is where it gets, I think, really interesting, especially for anyone maybe more familiar with traditional stories. Let's move into how this manifesto interprets the crucifixion and resurrection. Because this is where the physical, almost scientific cosmic claims really ramp up.
Yes.
Now, the sources seem to agree the crucifixion was real, a real event,
To do.
but they immediately pivot on what happened after. The claim is pretty startling, that the death wasn't final, that Christ was actually placed in the tomb alive, mistaken for dead.
That's the claim. And it sets up their view of the resurrection.
Which isn't just resuscitation, then.
No, not at all. This moves the resurrection out of the realm of, say, miracle or pure metaphor, and puts it squarely into what the Manifesto seems to consider cosmic physics. The claim is this was a transfiguration.
Transfiguration, how do they define that?
As a physical, non-metaphorical burst of divine energy that ruptured the veil between dimensions.
Wow.
And the source is specific. It says what emerged was light incarnate. Not just the same physical body brought back to life, but a being fundamentally transformed by, well, a massive energy event.
When they say light incarnate, does that imply, like, measurable energy? It sounds less theological and more physical.
That is exactly the implication. The Manifesto really pushes this. It defines the event as a physical signal, a cosmic ignition.
A cosmic ignition.
Yes, and to try and ground this, really radical claim, the sources explicitly bring up the Shroud of Turin.
Ah, okay.
They assert it actually bears witness to this transfiguration. The text describes the image on the shroud as being seared onto the cloth by a sudden blast of high-intensity radiation.
So the shroud is presented as physical evidence of this energy burst.
That's the argument. It's positioned as the physical trace of that spiritual, or rather cosmic ignition.
A physical trace of a spiritual ignition. Okay, that phrase really captures it. It argues this isn't just belief, it's potentially physics and history intertwined.
Right.
So if the resurrection was this physical cosmic event, what's the required response from us, from humanity? Let's shift from that ignition event to the result it's supposed to achieve.
Yeah.
Let's talk about salvation. The Manifesto says it must be lived, not claimed.
Yes, and this section delivers a really powerful countercultural message, especially if you think about contexts where belief alone is emphasized.
How so?
It starts with an immediate condemnation of what it sees as spiritual vanity or arrogance. The Manifesto states it plainly. To believe that only the loud are saved is the height of arrogance.
That directly undercuts the idea that just reciting a creed or joining a church guarantees anything.
Completely. It puts the entire burden on consistent daily conduct. Your actions.
Now, what is their definition of living the word, then, if it's not about belief statements?
It's defined purely by actions, not by affiliation or labels. Salvation, according to this text, belongs to those who actually live his truth.
Which means?
Walking in peace, extending genuine friendship, embodying selfless love. It focuses entirely on conduct, on your internal integrity, rather than external badges or rituals. The key principle here seems to be resonance.
Resonance.
Yes. The divine spark within, it suggests, recognizes resonance with the light, with the truth. It doesn't respond to rhetoric or, institutional membership cards.
That's made pretty clear in one quote you mentioned earlier.
It is. It's one of the most powerful lines in the sources, I think.
Yeah.
Christ walks beside the quiet, the kind, the just, even if they do not call him by name.
Wow. So your alignment with that divine harmony, that kindness, that justice, that's what matters, regardless of your religious identity or lack thereof.
That's the message. It's a fundamental challenge to any system built on exclusivity, isn't it?
Absolutely. It suggests that a quiet life lived with kindness is maybe the highest form of allegiance. It completely bypasses the need for any intermediary.
And the final measure is just definitive. The fruit reveals the root. The life reveals the light. The emphasis is always, always on the life being lived.
Okay, so this internal preparation, this living the word,
Yeah.
It leads us straight into the final and maybe the most dramatic part of this source material.
The warning.
Exactly, the prediction for Christ's return. And it's explicitly tied to specific cosmological claims and cycles.
Yeah.
What's the cosmic timetable this manifesto lays out?
It grounds its prophecy in cyclical time. It details a specific ancient cosmic cycle, the 300 to 600-year cycle.
Okay.
And it links this directly to the return of planet X. The source explicitly calls it Nibiru.
So it's providing a physical astronomical clock for this predicted reckoning.
Precisely. It connects the spiritual awakening message to a predictable, potentially catastrophic cosmic event. For the people who follow this manifesto, this connects back to that ancient Gnostic idea of warring intelligences.
Right, the angel war.
But it connects it to a physical reality. The coming crisis isn't just seen as spiritual collapse. It's framed as a physical upheaval triggered by this cosmic event, something they believe happens every 3,600 years.
That integration is, well, it's intense. But here's a question. If Christ is primarily defined as this gentle revealer, why would his return be described as potentially cataclysmic? Doesn't a revealer just reveal gently? Why this sort of apocalyptic warning?
That's a key point. The Manifesto argues the cataclysm isn't punishment directly inflicted by Christ.
Okay.
Instead, it's the inevitable consequence of that 3,600-year cycle lining up with humanity's spiritual state. The source warns that if humanity continues down its savage trajectory, if we keep warring, dominating, deceiving, then Christ's return will not be gentle. Not because he chooses wrath, but because his arrival acts as the trigger for the reckoning of a 300 to 600-year cycle. It forces the collapse of illusion and the exposure of truth.
So the event itself, his presence, just disperses the darkness. But the violence, the chaos, comes from the collapse of the false, brittle structures we built.
That seems to be the idea, which completely reframes the purpose of humanity itself, doesn't it?
How so?
The source states, we were not created to obey, we were seeded to awaken.
Seeded to awaken.
Yeah.
Not to obey.
Exactly. So the ultimate call to get ready, to prepare, is entirely self-driven. It's internal.
Not about rituals or building bunkers.
No. It's about stripping away the spiritual contaminants. Violence, ego, illusion. Christ is coming simply to reveal the truth, and the idea is only the awakened, those who've done that inner work, can actually withstand that pure revelation without shattering. So if we were to summarize the core mission of this unique manifesto, it's really a radical call to remember something innate. It asserts that the divine spark within you is older than empires, brighter than dogma, stronger than fear. It tells the listener, essentially, that this text isn't meant to be some new doctrine to follow, but more like a guide to recovering what was lost, maybe before the big institutions were ever built.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this? The takeaway really seems to be this singular, urgent focus on your personal conduct and your inner spiritual awakening.
Live the word.
According to these sources, that's the only real preparation needed for this predicted cosmic event, this reckoning tied to the 3,600-year cycle. It's simply to live the word, not just speak it. The stakes are presented as cosmic, absolutely, but the work required is deeply personal, internal, which leaves you with the manifesto's ultimate challenge, really, it says. And when he does return, only those who have emptied themselves of violence, of ego, of illusion will stand in the light. So thinking purely based on the claims we've discussed, living in peace, kindness, shedding illusion, what specific daily actions might truly constitute emptying yourself in preparation for a cosmic event you can neither control nor delay? Something to think about.